Good afternoon, the friends from Thailand Market Research. Today, very glad to attend this seminar. Thank you for your invite. My name is Andy Zhao. I'm the president of China Market Research Association, and I'm also the chairman of Asia Pacific Research Committee, APRC. My working experience is I was the founder of GFK China. Then I was in GFK I was responsible for North Asia countries. My last job was the president of Nielsen China, so I was in this industry for quite a long time. Today, I'm very glad to share with you our experience of COVID-19, especially in China in the past months, and also our forecast in future. And the COVID-19, the virus started from China, and we had the first lockdown in the end of January before the Chinese New Year. So the effect on the business of our members, market research companies in China, are not so obvious at the beginning because it was the Chinese New Year holidays. The situation is getting more serious when the holiday is finished. Then in February, we have decided to do a survey in the end of February to check what is the real situation and what is the scale of the impact to our members. The time when we did the survey was the most serious time of the COVID-19 virus in China. Everything was locked down, and everybody stayed at home. Here, I would like to share some of the findings of the survey, because I believe still in many countries in the world, the virus situation is still quite, I would say, serious. Maybe the situation is a bit similar with what China had in the end of February or in the beginning of March. Here I'd like to share some findings through the survey. There are 25% of the replies says it's difficult for them to continue the business. There are 58% of the companies says they have a tremendous decrease on their revenue. Their forecast at that moment for Q1 was more than half of the companies says that their decrease will be more than 50% in Q1. And 25% of the company says the decrease will be between 30 to 50%. There are 44% of the companies forecast their whole year revenue will decrease more than 30%. And there are 40% of the companies says that they don't see a recovery at that time in the end of February, and we see that these effects is more heavily impacting the small and medium local companies rather than the large enterprises. But we also need to say, we also find that there are 2% of the companies says there's no impact, no negative impact to their revenue. And there are 9% of the companies says even they see there are some impact in Q1, but therefore see there's less impact for the whole year. So what are the challenges our members were facing? Is first of all is the personnel cost. 76% of the companies feel it's very heavy, and there are 73% says the revenue challenge is the biggest challenge. And then at that time, there were only 40% of the companies has start to recover on their revenue. So obviously, the cash flow pressure is an issue. This is related, as we said, with personnel and also with rental. So about 50% of the company says rental is a heavy pressure for them. Then we also find that the methodology has been changed because the traditional offline method, cannot go through at that moment. So most of the projects, I would say almost all the projects changed to online. So all the activities will also change to online. So the project itself changed to online, but also all the meetings with the client and or the recruitment of the samples, everything moved to online. So we could see that the impact was quite serious, and there are about half of the companies feels difficulty to continue the business when they forecast for a year. With this result, and the reason why we did that survey is that we wanted to let our members use this survey, first to know what is the situation, and secondly, to use it to communicate with their local government to get some help. So this was the suggestions we have given at that time. First is that we suggest, because China, there's a situation in the past 2 years that the government project has been increased a lot. The government starts to use research companies to do survey for them. So we suggest that the government restart the project as soon as possible to help the local companies to survive. And secondly, what we suggested, because we find that the payment was an issue. The large companies are outsourcing to the smaller companies, but the large companies are delaying the payment. And also the clients, the direct clients are also delay the payment. So we are suggesting, as an association, we're suggesting the clients and also the big research companies, they make the payment faster to help the small local companies. And then we also give a lot of online trainings to share ideas of how to use the modern tools to work from home, to manage the business from home, and to adapt to this new environment. So this was the situation when China was in the most a difficult period. Then we have made some phone calls last week. Checked again with about 40 of our members in different regions in China. And we find that the recovery is not as fast as what we have expected. So the economy recovery will take a bit longer time. And even you know that China, the lockdown is finished. People's life back to normal. But the impact to the manufacturers, to our clients and client, is still there. They also have their difficulties on their cash flow. They also have difficulties on introducing new products into the market. And they're also facing the changing of the lifestyle. Because after the coronavirus, people's lifestyle is also changing. So the way of consuming is changing. So the client still watching the market and see what will be the next step they will do. So at this moment, they are also hesitating to immediately make a lot of new investment. And they're also hesitating to continue the old way they are operating their business. So that's make the challenge for our industry because the project does not come back. The business does not come back so quick. So we see that the cash flow is still a bit challenging. And this is what I give the suggestion to our members. We still see, first of all, survive is still the number one task. If the cash flow is broken, if they cannot survive, whatever they think about the future, pictures or development, that will be meaningless. So we still suggest to our members that they need to first still look at their cash flow. And the first priority for them is still to save cost and survive. At the same time, they need to keep close relationship with their client, even closer relationship with their client. Even many phone calls and communications will be online. And the reason why is the client demand is also changing and will change. So we need to know how the client will change, how we can help the client to know the new environment in the market, how we can help the client to know the changing of their consumers' behavior. So this creates another, I would say, an opportunity. Which is that traditionally we provide I would say, standardized market research. But now what the client need is to plan for the future. So to help the client to build up a new strategy in the new normal is becoming important. And especially for the China case, because given the size of the country, each region is different. Each region's behavior, the consumer behavior is different. But one trend is every region will go to online, but maybe in different phases, but will be similar in future. So this we need to help the client to closely monitor it and help them to move to another stage. Just now we said the word of new normal, and the client is finding their new normal, and we need to follow the client to find our new normal. I do see there will be a lot of opportunity inside there, but we need to change ourselves. We cannot just do what we have done before, because the environment has been changed. And we also see that the overseas project, because there are a lot of export, there were a lot of export from China in the past years. So we did see that the increasing demand on the overseas project in the past years. But with the COVID-19 effect, this overseas project are suspending. So it's there's a big impact on that. So we think that in a short time, before the virus was get controlled, because before the business and travel are opened, this overseas project will not be recover so quick. So that is one other suggestions we are giving to our members who are focusing to doing overseas projects. They may need to see the balance of the local ones versus overseas, and even in the overseas project, they also need to help their client to closely monitor the situation in different countries or different regions, because we also foresee that the global business environment will change a lot, and for the Chinese manufacturers, they need to adapt to this to these changes to help them to survive, because the production capacity in China still remains huge. Only the China market is not big enough for many Chinese manufacturers. So overseas market for them is still a crucial one in future, but that will take time to recover. Today we are talking about Thailand. I would say Southeast Asia, the linkage between China and Southeast Asia and East Asia, I would say in future is also one of the biggest, will continue to be one of the biggest opportunity for everyone. So it's I would say it's also important. It will be also opportunity for the research companies in this region to help the manufacturers in different countries, not only China but Japan, Korea, and etc., to help them to understand the changes of the market after the virus and help them to recover soon. I believe there will be more opportunity also for ourselves in future. Okay, it's very happy to share with my view, my opinion today. and we should have a successful seminar, and hopefully we can see you online very soon. Thank you.